Morning, loves. Whew, I have not been chatting for a minute, and I was just so compelled. I was reading through the Facebook group comments, and boy, I so relate. And so I thought we should have a little morning coffee together. We haven't done that in a minute. So anyway, came upstairs to the office, brought my coffee, chilling with you, one of my very favorite things to do in the world. So thinking so much about the story of one of my first clients I ever treated in my life, and Alice, and she very early in her treatment, and her basement flooded. This is like a real story, and her basement flooded, and and I was like reading through her food as I do, and I said, "Your basement flooded," and like nothing happened, no food. And she was like, yeah, because I didn't want, I decided in that moment, like, I could have a flooded basement and a fat ass, or I could just have a flooded basement. And listen, I'm just telling you the story. Hey, Carrie, I'm just telling you the story. Like, I'm not commenting on asses, believe you me, if you've ever seen me. I'm just saying, like, it's one of my favorite stories. I mean, it's very old, and I was like remembering it today, but it was like such a good reminder because it was like, yeah, like when we turn to the food, we make ourselves more problems. The Buddhists talk about this all the time, right? The difference between the pain and the suffering is that suffering is pain plus denying the pain, and I think sometimes when we have these unhealthy relationships with food and we turn to the food in these troubling times, it makes a bad situation worse. It's a flooded basement plus demoralization or not feeling good about yourself or feeling hungover the next day, like you know how it goes. And you sip. And there was so much talk about this, like in the Facebook group, and there's been so much talk about this in like some of the DMs that I'm getting, and just I think some of the sessions that I'm having, where it's like really starting to refocus our attention on how we, consider what self-love is. There's this whole post about this, like a really hard weekend, and I had some ice cream, and then I woke up with a migraine, and I get that. Oh my goodness, because it's like in that short term moment, it's like the sugar and the food seems like, yes, soothe me, soothe me, soothe me, soothe me. But then, like, the later stages of that is like, oh, I did it again, and my head hurts and my body hurts. And by the way, if you're off sugar for a while and you go back to it, it's like, you really feel it. This weekend, my stepdad, who doesn't eat, he's just a really healthy eater, more genuinely, not like sort of not like break up with sugar recovery. And he had some ice cream and he was like, "It is so crazy how that ice cream feels in my body." And I was like, "Say it ain't so, Dad." So anyway, it's like it's just starting to think about, breaking up with sugar and not using sugar and those things like as an act of self-love, right? And then the next question, which is always the next question, which is, what do I really need to nourish myself right now, to nurture myself so I don't need to numb? What do I need to nourish myself? What do I need to nurture myself so I don't need to numb? This is going to be the most important question that you ask yourself. I was thinking, by the way, I just want to share with you one of the other, I mean, I'm nothing if I'm not honest. That's like my brand, but I have been on a ride right now. I mean, I have had so many changes in my business, which is totally, it's okay. It's just some loss. We moved out of our office space because of COVID, and certainly we'll move into new office space. But I was very connected as I am to that space, and we're having some changes in that job, and I'm having some tooth problems. Like I was like so relating, to your post because me too, me too, me too, me too, me too. And just like some relationship problems. Like I'm in it with you guys. Like I am one of you. I am a group member, even though I wrote the book, I am a group member. And I was talking to one of my friends about this, and she said, "Tell me everything." And I just like wrote the list of all the things that were going on with me. And she said this great thing that I wanted to share with you, which is the other reason I wanted to go live this morning when we're thinking about self-love. But the other thing is like when we don't turn to food, we get to learn how strong we are. And that's in this game, like I have a lot of time where I haven't turned to food. Oh, Heidi, I love you and miss you so much. I have a lot of time and experience where I haven't turned to food. And the thing I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that I've learned from that is like I am stronger than I know. Because when I haven't turned to food, I had to really dig deep inside and learn. And so this is what my friend Michelle said when I was talking to her about this, and I wanted to share it with you. She said, "You know what, Molly? You have been through so much mud in your life. Like, this is not the first time that something hard has happened to you. And muddy mud makes fertile ground. If you all know the story of the lotus, right? It rises. I mean, and she said, so I want you to think about this. Muddy mud makes fertile ground. And yes, like I have to sift through the mud. We all have to sift through the mud, but that's what makes the most fertile, fertile, fertile ground. And so when she was saying this to me, and I was like crying, like listening to her voice memo, I thought, oh my goodness, I need to share this with everybody. Because my loves, like we are in a time, like we are in a time. And the thing is, I don't think the time is going to change. I think our behavior is going to change. I think our knowing of ourselves is going to change. I think how we experience life is going to change. And so, it's really like, it was, of course, like cravings aren't commands. And yes, I'm like your teacher, but also like I have cravings too. Thank God, because it helps me to help you. And so on Friday night, I was in my room and I was like doing all this work and I was finishing work and I just got so hungry. And I thought, well, I could have a second snack. And then I actually asked myself the question, and I'm asking you all of the time. What do I need to nourish myself and nurture myself so I don't need to numb? And it was like, I need to go to bed and I need to get into bed, right? I mean, these are really simple things, but when we're enmeshed in our relationship with food, it's like we can't think outside of that, or else I can't, right? I can't think outside of that because it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to turn to the food. Oh yeah, I'm just going to turn to the food. Like, oh yeah, I'm just going to turn to the food. And then you're all of us like, we're really stuck in this cycle of I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed. I turn to the food for nourishment and nurture. Now, of course, like food is nourishing, like, but it's not like I'm not talking about my afternoon snack. I'm not talking about like my Ezekiel bread and egg sandwich in the morning. I'm talking about turning to it when it's not time to turn to it, when my body doesn't need it. My body is looking for something else. My body is looking for sleep. My body is looking for connection. I mean, that's been such a big one for me these days. I have been connecting so, and like, let me tell you something. I wish I could be an island sometimes. Sometimes I like don't want to connect, and then I do connect, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I needed. I'm not hungry anymore, right? Or like I'm taking next week off, like, which is really hard for me. But especially like when vacation isn't vacation so much in COVID, but like I think I need to recharge, like I need to go plug in somewhere else. Like these are the things that I want you to start to think about. I'm like using a new camera and I'm like not in the shop. Sorry, I'm like learning all about this. So anyway, I can't really tell what I'm doing here, but anyway. So anyway, this is what I want us to be thinking about because I'm reading so much about us needing something and turning to food, and food isn't the thing that we need. It's like, so what do we need? Now, in Breaking Up with Sugar, there is chapters about this because it's the skills chapters, it's the distress tolerance, and distress tolerance talks, and we in our DBT, we have these, and we're gonna in September we are launching. Just side note, the dopest membership site that's just going to be all these interactive groups for you because you guys love the drop-in group so much. It's going to be incredible. But this month, while we're prepping that, we're launching pretty awesome things too. So stay tuned. In your email, you're getting an email today with some secret VIP stuff for those of you who are on our email list. But in DBT, we talk so much about distress tolerance, right? And stress tolerance is simply like sometimes things suck. Sometimes life is hard. During COVID, life is very hard for some of us, for most of us. I don't know who life is. I think there's just gradations of how hard life is for us right now. You know what I mean? And so the question really is like, what do I do to make a hard time not worse? Like, what do I do in these hard times to A, find these little pockets where I can find gratitude, where I can find connection, where I can find healing, right? Oh, Kathleen is saying in the comments, this is really beautiful, babe. I love this one. I need communication with others and to heal my body through eating. That's such a wonderful, Kathleen. I have been trying to find a way to see that. It's like, so at nighttime, like when I'm telling you about Friday night when I'm having a craving, my intention is not to go heal my body with eating. My intention is to go numb my body with eating. And that's where we need to be like looking at what else we need because food is not solving that problem. It's numbing the body and then we're having the rebound of shame and demoralization. So I'm not saying like nobody loves food like your coach and your bestie over here, believe you me. It's just really using it in a way that's helpful and healing and loving. That's exactly right. And then learning these new ways of self-care and learning these ways to tolerate the distress of the moment, which is really hard to do when food is in the picture because in a way food is our most familiar and like go-to skill. We've been doing it the longest time. And so somebody was talking about one of my beloved clinicians, Alex, and she was talking in one of the drop-in groups, which is one of our favorite things to talk about in DBT, these like the well-worn snow groove. And that's what the food is. It's like this ski slope that you've been using for years and years and years and years and years. And it's like we got to build a new one, and that's hard. And that's hard. But let me tell you something, my loves. You are stronger than you know. You are stronger than you know. And muddy mud is fertile ground. And so there's so many of us. I'm with you. I am in muddy. I mean, I could cry talking about it. Like I am in muddy mud with you. I really am. This month, I am going to cry. This has been a very challenging few weeks for a lot of us, myself included. A lot of feelings, a lot of loss, and of course, like we will rise. I'm not worried about that, but the healing is in the feeling. And the only way we feel is by not turning to food. The only way we heal is by not turning to food. That's the deal. Otherwise, we're stuck in this cycle over and over and over again. I was talking to one of my clients yesterday who's having a really hard time getting out of the food. And I said, well, the story you're telling is, okay, I really don't want to do it anymore, which is very true in the moment. And then in the moment that comes, and I think you guys all get this because I think everybody has this most earnest desire to want to break up with sugar and have a healthy relationship with food. It's just this is what happens. The moment happens where, like where you lose the motivation, where you lose the willpower and you don't re-up in that moment and you don't use the skill. And then of course the food's going to win because it's the well-worn snow groove. It's the old hand. It's the bad habit of sorts. And so it's really about getting quiet and asking yourself questions. And also, as Amy was writing in the Facebook group today, like not having food as an option. So when food is an option, we're in a lot of trouble because it doesn't allow for us to take that beat and to get curious and figure out what we need in those moments. I mean, that's really the truth. That's why food plans are really, really important. Relationship rebuild plan and breaking up with sugar are so there for you. Um, yeah, and then it's really in those moments where it's not time to eat, making the question to yourself, what do I need to nourish myself and what do I need to nurture myself so I don't need to numb myself? And those are like the most important questions that you can ask. And here's the thing, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Kathleen in the comments is saying, this is my last chance to heal myself. It isn't, but it's a great time to heal yourself. There's always, everything's reparable. So fall down 7 times, get up 8. This is like a really important part of this because when we're saying, oh my God, this is my last chance, it's just, it's like, it's fertile ground for the efforts, it's fertile ground for slashing all the tires. So there's a gentleness that needs to come with this experience, right? Like, of course, I want this to be the last time. Like, I feel really grateful that 11 years ago, for whatever reason, like, that was my last time. Imperfectly, but that was my last time. And I pray for all of you to have that. And I really want us all to be healing and getting well together. I believe wholeheartedly in every single one of you. I believe in your process. I believe in your healing. If you are Yeah, and I mean, nothing changes, nothing changes. So the question really is to everybody, if it's just really the time you're going to do it, how are you going to do it? How are we going to make this time different? And I really want you to think about what I was saying to my client yesterday, which is in those moments where you want to be giving up, where you're about to turn to food, what are you willing to do differently? Are you willing to make a phone call? Are you willing to take breaths? Like this is the question. Because everybody wants it in this minute. It's just about like, in those moments, it's like, are you willing to pray? And I don't know. I don't know. Are you willing to go put ice on your neck? You know how I love ice on your neck, by the way. 100% guaranteed that that will work. Isn't that crazy? Having a deep, thank you, Heidi, having a deep and solid why, having a commitment to yourself, reminding yourself. And I'll tell you the other thing, my loves, having a community. If you're not in this Facebook group, I mean, get in this Facebook group, make up with yourself, create this loving and deep relationship with yourself where you consider not turning to the food as an act of self-care, as an act of self-love. That's how you heal this relationship with yourself. And so I do think of Alice, right? Because Alice is like, Molly, I had a flooded basement. That was enough problems for the day. I didn't need to go and like binge on food because that was going to make me feel worse about my. So it's like, then she'd have a flooded basement and feel terrible about herself. And that just wasn't worth it to her. And I hear that. That's how I felt on Friday. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to end. I think I'm going to heal right now. I think like what I need is to go to sleep. And so I went to sleep, instead of going and eating a bunch of protein bars and then feeling hungover the next morning and then wondering why I do the, it's like, the story, the story. We're in this together, my loves. So anyway, I love you. I want to know all of your thoughts about this. I want to know all of your thoughts about what you want me to be talking about, thinking about, writing about. You are my people. I am fiercely devoted to your freedom and I'm here to help you heal. Like I'm your coach, I'm your bestie. Like we're in this together. I'm obsessed with you. If you don't know that, now you know. So anyway, leave some comments, leave some likes, leave some comments. I want to know everything that we should be doing together. But this is my thought for this morning with my cup of joe. And stay tuned for the email today with all of our August offerings. But September is going to be the month. We're really launching it out on September. So stay tuned for that too. And if you have any questions, thoughts, feelings, everything in between, you know that I'm here for you. And that's that. Have a beautiful morning.